Before I read the latest post by President Trump, let's look at the one before it that made a lot of people have the expectations that tonight we're going to have like massive military operations. So this was the original post. President Trump posted this saying the United States will be hitting Iran, whose Navy, Air Force, radar, anti-aircraft, and all other forms of defense, together with most of its offensive capability, are gone very hard tonight. At some point in the not so distant future, we will be taking Harg Island and other oil infrastructure points and assume total control of their oil and gas markets, much like we have with Venezuela, which is working out brilliantly for both Venezuela and United States of America. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And then, so a lot of people thought like we're gonna boom booms tonight, but then just very, I mean, when was this? Just 2 hours ago, President Trump posted this. Based on the fact that discussions with the Islamic Republic of Iran have been brought to the highest level of Iranian leadership and approved, I have, as President of the United States of America, canceled the scheduled strikes and bombings against Iran this evening. Discussions and final points have been, in both concept and great detail, approved by all parties involved, including the United States, Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Turkey, Pakistan, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Egypt, and others. The naval blockade will remain in full force and effect until the transaction is finalized. Time and place of the signing to be announced shortly. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. All right, so I'm assuming most of the ones that you have people have put in the chat is about this. Is my assumption correct? Because I think we should mostly focus on this.
I think 4 of them are about this.
Is the first one about this?
No.
Okay, can we do the ones that are about this and then we go to the ones that are not about this? Is that okay, guys?
And actually, 2 people want to respond. So let me quickly go to them. Noah?
Yeah, I do feel a little bit disappointed. I'm not entirely mad at President Trump this time, um, but I do think that the Islamic Republic is just buying time at this point again, as they always have. And I feel like they're doing this again. So I think they're going to put out the same peace proposals that they have, which are not going to suffice to the United States, and we'll be back to square one within a few days. But that's just my 2 cents. So we'll see what happens in the coming days, but um, he might not be happy with progress, and we'll go back to boom booms. And yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And Sketch?
Yes, we made a deal with Japan. What are we not going to make a deal and just nuke them out of existence? We made a deal with Germany. What are we going to do? Keep bombing them until Germans don't exist? People have this cognitive dissonance where they think you can't have a deal that's a surrender deal. It's like, oh no, there's a deal. That means everything goes back to the way it was before the war. Just because you hear the word deal, please don't have a stroke. Don't go into some kind of cognitive dissonant, TDS, spasm, and forget that you can have a deal that's a surrender deal. We did this with Japan. We did this with Germany. We have done this many times. Wars end through deals, even when there's a clear victor. Unless you're going to genocide everyone, unless you're going to have boots on the ground and hunt down in every hole everyone that's there, and this is something we don't want to do, you have to have a deal. A surrender deal is what we're looking for. You can't let because this is the thing. We're going into the terms of the left. The left says bombing is wrong, and then when we don't bomb, they say Trump always chickens out. Taco Trump, right? So they have this thing like, well, no matter what you do, it's wrong. So you're letting them define the terms of what a deal means. A surrender deal is still a deal. We had a deal with Japan, so we would stop nuking them. If we didn't make a deal with Japan, it would still be glowing in the dark. We had a deal with Germany. If we didn't do that, there would be no Germany. You have to make a deal at some point. So stop going crazy when you hear the word deal. I think we have to repeat and repeat. Hey, would you want Japan to still glow, or are you okay with surrender deals? Can you accept surrender deals, or should we still be nuking Japan? I just want to put that out there.
Thank you for putting it out there. And one more response from Armin.
I'm just going to read the people who disagree with these takes so that more of you could respond to it. I mean, and some people, like, there are people who agree to this. I'm just going to focus on the disagree ones so that we could hear more responses, right? So Brenda, I think, is saying, come on, stop being nice to Trump. He has betrayed you. I am sick of Persian dissidents lionizing Trump. He is a con man and will do a surrender deal with the regime and leave you subjugated. And then somebody else is saying, do you all comprehend the Truth Social post? The Islamic Republic has agreed to a deal. And then Fine Stars is saying, Sketch, you're the one suffering from cognitive dissonance. Perhaps we are feeling that way because we know the Islamic Republic better than you. They would never agree to a surrender deal. And somebody else is saying, Aryan is saying, except that the IRGC doesn't surrender. And that Brenda person is also saying, this channel has been naive for months, swallowing every pro-MAGA nonsense, pretending Trump will help you. Wake up. I mean, I'm reading your comments. So
can I reply to the one about me?
Reply to all of them, actually, if you can.
Okay, I didn't say the deal had to be with IRGC. The president could just betray all of the IRGC and leave. You know, if a dog decided to start talking and says, "Yeah, I'm going to represent the government. We're taking the IRGC. We're making them a non-power. Make the deal with me." I'll take a deal with anyone in the government that renounces the IRGC's power. I'm not married to the IRGC. I'm okay with completely destroying the IRGC. I'm just saying at some point you have to set some terms where you're going to go in, you're going to do the things you do. Someone in there, maybe someone that becomes disloyal, maybe someone threatened by the IRGC, maybe someone who's betraying the IRGC. I don't care who it is, right? Maybe you're making the surrender deal with all the surrounding powers and someone from the outside that accepts the deal in their terms, some government in exile. I don't care who it is. You have to make a framework for ending hostilities and start, taking power away directly, putting someone else in the position of recognized leader, right? And taking out the person that don't accept whatever deal is set forward. This was done in Libya. This was done in Syria. If I'm not mistaken, like the Syrian government was just not recognized. Another government was recognized. I don't know how that went. Might have not gone, great at first, but it's a lot more calm now than it was during the whole Civil War period, right? So these things happen. They do happen. You can't be so TDS minded that you are forgetting where we are. We are in the channel where I myself, Armin, has told you the IRGC is not going to accept the deal. That's the good thing. If you go for a surrendering deal, right, that means that the government is giving up, or someone in the government is basically authorizing. We need someone in the government to authorize us to come in. That may not be the IRGC. That may be someone claiming to be the IRGC. Whoever signs the deal is giving us a paper that says, "Hey, come in." That's all I want. And we're basically, I don't want to make us look bad, right? But it's like a vampire. I'm not coming in until you say come in. But once we get anybody to say come in, hey, thank you. Now let me, take these bloodsuckers and do to them what they did to Iran.
Sketch, do you think, really quickly, Sketch, do you think it's fair to dismiss anybody who thinks this way as TDS? Because some of these people, like celebrated Trump when he did so many other things, right? And they just don't like what he. Yeah, let me just finish. Like, they just don't like what he's doing right now. But I don't like, some of them don't really have TDS because they weren't always like consistently anti-Trump, like they just don't like what he's doing now. So I'm not saying they're right. I mean, maybe they're wrong and you're right, but is it fair to just dismiss all of it as TDS?
I can make, there are exceptions to the rule. I will admit there are exceptions to the rules, but the exceptions don't make the rule. If 90% of them are people who have TDS and always hated whatever Trump does, and a couple of people who used to like him, you know,
But we
kind
don't
of
have the
echoing
stats.
that sentiment, hey,
But we don't have the data. But we don't have the data on how many percentage is TDS and how much is not. Like we don't have the data for that.
exactly my point. So, like, just as valid as it is to say they're not all of them, it is as valid to say a lot of them are.
Some of them we don't know. Yeah, but
Some of them, yeah. Hey,
okay. All right. I saw.
Okay.
Sorry, Danny. Go on. There's more twos in the chat.
Next person, Ida.
Hey, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Hey, so yeah, that I put the two before Sketch explained himself. So yeah, doing deals with Germany and the West and Japan, whatever, is different from doing deals with people from the Middle East who are like IRGC or basically very bad guys. So, but then he addressed the issue of, I think a lot of people though do think that when he speaks about, when Trump speaks about doing a deal, he talks about this regime. I'm just from hearing what people around say. And the fear is that the regime is going to stay and is going to make some kind of a deal with them because we all want to see the regime fall, right? Because the deal we want to see is like maybe he's making a deal with somebody who's really on our side. So that's he basically sketched and provided more clear picture of what he would want the deal to look like. So I have nothing more to say.
Thank you, Ida.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Yeah, so I'm going to expand on what Sketch said. No one's saying that, no one's dismissing the fact that members of the broader Iranian diaspora are, again, under a very high cognitive and emotional load. And no one's dismissing the fact that members of the Iranian diaspora, like the anti-mullah Iranian diaspora, have a unique stake and or emotional investment in this because their family's there. I think what Sketch is saying is you can tell by the context of how the criticism is floated. I mean, there's a reason I said what I said the other day. Well, when is the time where we can like co-opt this to push for never? It's never that time. But I'm going to say this to you, to whoever said that. President Trump betrayed the Iranian people. Who killed Khomeini again? You have 21,000 targets in the first set of strikes that were obliterated. So probably a bit strong, definitely not accurate. Understandable though, right? Because of the emotional investment and connection. I'm just saying that there's a difference between providing constructive criticism in support of the office of the president and like some, including some that come to these groups, that very much seem like they wait for any slip up so that can serve as a backdrop for their partisan whatever. Right? There's a difference between those two things. There's a reason I supported the office of the president under Biden when it came to pushing back against Putin's criminalized counterintelligence states' illegal war of aggression in Ukraine. And that's after Biden's fucking crackhead son stole my work regarding Ukraine, which I don't even care. He just fucked it up. That's what I cared about. There are other things going on, right? Putin just forward-based more troops in Europe. We are responding. You know, this, I mean, there's so much stuff going on. It's very, while I'm not dismissing the way they feel, because it's legitimate, under like they being members of the broader anti-mullah Iranian diaspora, right? They have a very high cognitive emotional load. They're personally invested. Their families are suffering. The mullahs are ruthless and they're unique. There's no doubt about it. That being said, it gets also in some cases equally tiring for those that are supporting you, that are in the administration, having to, constantly fight off all these never Trumper douchebags who have been either tripping up our efforts, actively supporting the mullah regime. It isn't us. It isn't MAGA that supports the mullahs. We openly love Iranian resistance. The Constitutional Coalition, right? Nancy Orticelli and all those guys openly love Goldie Gamari. They love her. Like Secretary of State Rubio made it a point to differentiate between the regime that illegally occupies Iran and the Iranian people. I mean, that's not the same as never Trumpers who are like, oh my God, you're not bombing. We're going to yell at you about that. Oh, you're bombing. Now we're going to yell at you about that. Nobody wants to hear that shit. They're not your friends. Leftists are not your fucking friends. They openly support this regime. The regime openly stated it views the global left as their fucking ally. The regime and its proxies are very much the contemporary representation, the Red-Green Alliance, of the Red-Black Alliance that took down the noble house of Pahlavi. So I'm not saying that MAGA isn't here listening to you or won't hug you, because we are and we do. I'm just saying, don't listen to the never Trumpers spewing all kinds of shit. Just like, well, what about the oil? Yeah, because we're fucking secretly moving oil out. Take a guess who played a role in writing some of that. Couldn't say anything. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes.
Okay, thank you. Armin is next.
I'm just gonna respond to some. Just read the super chats and respond to them. But fleshy interloper, thank you so much for the super chat saying, "I will stay confused and wait and see." Yeah, fleshy interloper is very. You have always been very transparent about this being all confusing, and I honestly think that's one of the most honest takes. I think there are a lot of people who say this is happening or that is happening. Not enough people admit that this is confusing, and the fact that you are admitting that makes you braver than most people. Like most people would like to uh, basically say that I know what's happening, right? And a lot of times we just don't. We just don't know, right? I would say that if it's confusing, the benefit of that is that it's also confusing to the Islamic Republic, right? If we knew what President Trump is doing, then the Islamic Republic would know as well, and that's not good, right? So that the confusing element of it is an advantage in some areas, right? To some extent. And then we got another super chat. I think this super chat is against me, saying Trump won't arm the Iranians. He's always dodging the question, and you and Goldie are only shrugging your shoulders to Marco Rubio saying they don't have any programs to arm Iranians. I mean, it's interesting that you're saying I'm shrugging my shoulders because I have started the most successful campaign on this very matter. Like if I knew that there was already a plan, then what would be the point of the Arm Us campaign that I've started, which now everybody is talking about, and is getting basically to the most important people on this matter. They're now using it as a way to get more buy-ins to to normalizing the idea that we should be arming the Iranian people. Like I have, among all people, um, accusing me of just shrugging our shoulders. Like like the Armas campaign is that I started is the number one, like is the most successful project to try to push for this to try to make an attempt for policies regarding exactly this to actually happen. And given the success of it, I don't know why you were accusing me of shrugging my shoulders. And Goldie has been, like you mentioned, Goldie has been supportive of the campaign as well. So in fact, Goldie has given me a lot of advice on what to do with the videos and how to make them go more viral, and she's been sharing it. What's that? Okay, so you're saying, Army, you didn't have any criticism of Marco Rubio and Trump on this matter. Well, Marco Rubio said that he's not aware of anybody of United States doing this, being, having any plans to arm the Iranian people, right? But when it comes to President Trump, we know that we did have criticism over the fact that they tried to use the Kurdish separatist groups. I remember specifically criticizing. I appreciated the fact that they were trying to arm the Iranian people, so I appreciated that, but I also had criticism regarding the method that they chose. I remember specifically criticizing him on that. With Marco Rubio, I don't he said he's not aware of the plan. I don't know if he would be the person in charge of that. So if there's a plan to arm the Iranian people, would Marco would be the person involved in that? And if there is a plan, wouldn't that be something that they wouldn't want to share with Marco? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he deserves criticism, but I don't know if he does, because I think that this is a very because they know he's going to be questioned about this, right? And he shouldn't be lying. They don't want him to lie. So maybe they on purpose didn't share that information with him so that he doesn't have to lie about it. I mean, he's not going to be in charge of that operation, so why should he be? If that plan is in place, why should that be shared? Why should they share that with him? But to be fair, if there is no plan right now to arm the Iranian people, if I knew that there's no plan right now, I would be criticizing that. I'm not defending the position the United States has right now because I don't know the position. If I knew that they have a plan right now, I would be like, oh my God, great. I don't even need my campaign anymore. I could stop that. There's a plan. And if I knew that there is no plan, then obviously I would criticize it. I would like, this is the best thing to do. So I would be criticizing why they're not doing that. But I can't criticize something that I'm not aware of. I don't know if there is a plan right now there or not. But because I don't know, at least I started a campaign to try to push for it in case that plan is not there, to at least normalize it and have more people discuss it. So we do have more super chats. I'll get to the super chats too, but because I've been speaking a lot, let's get to more people. Like, do we have, Danny, do we have more twos?
We have so many more twos. Okay, Sapir is next.
I'm honestly, I'm sorry. You can skip me.
Okay, I understand. Ram?
Who's there? Who?
Ram.
All right. I can't. Your audio is like so low.
How's that better?
Yep.
No.
Nope, not at all. All right, let's go to the next person.
Yeah, try to fix it and we'll circle back to you. Okay, Sketch.
Yes. What I was going to say is, like, people can talk about me, about my stance, but they are forgetting that for over a month, I have said very clearly that we are trying to talk about a government in exile. Very clearly, for over a month, I have said, hey, we need to find a way to declare other people in charge. Very clearly, I have said, well, would you accept a deal where the president says, get me out of here, move me to France. These people have a fake Ayatollah. That's not a grand Ayatollah by their constitution. Here's the paperwork. That's not a real Ayatollah. That's not a real power. This is a fake government. This is an unconstitutional government. Just get me out of here. And he could betray everyone and just get out. Like, would you accept that deal? Well, some people who are not thinking logically, they're thinking emotionally, like to forget what has been discussed here and try to act like I'm always defending Trump. That is another lie, an outright lie and a personal attack because they are upset about this deal talk. Anyone that's been here for long knows that I am furious at Trump about his home policy about why he's not going after these judges, these mayors, these governors, right? I am no Trump worshiper. I just understand a little bit about war. And if you're going to have operations going in, you need someone to kind of accept it, have a legal framework to go in, number one. Number two, once you do that, if you are going to get anything in there, you can treat anyone that attacks you as an insurgent, not part of a legitimate government. That's what I'm talking about here, a legal framework that you can sign on to so that you can go and do the things you have to do. I didn't say IRGC. I never said that. People are putting words in my mouth. They're speaking about me like they're not, you just must not come here often or not be a regular listener, because I have been saying these things for over a month. I've been talking, Jeff knows, Jeff, I've talked to you about this, right? About government in exile. How do we get other people in power? How do we release the funds to other people? This has been a long going discussion. Anybody that thinks a deal is with the IRGC has ignored me saying over and over, of course, the deal is not with the IRGC. They can't accept it. Armin has also said, oh, the Iranians are worshiping Trump. Armin and Goldie have been saying for far longer than me, the IRGC is not going to accept that kind of deal. So it would have to be someone else in the government. This is just ignoring the facts of what has been discussed here and having an emotional reaction to today's news.
All right, thank you. And let's go on to Jeffrey.
Yeah, so I mean, I can validate what both Armin and Sketches said. I mean, I'm one of the guys who kind of helped write the strategy about arming Iranians. I'm not the only one. I'm one of them. I remember talking to Armin and Goldie and Tusi about that 6 months ago. I remember that. So yeah, Armin has very much been pushing for and involved in trying to arm Iranian resistance. There's just ways you got to go about doing it for both operational and legal reasons. It's not like, and I know how that might seem with all the stupid news, right? Like, oh, they're hiding in the process. I promise you, it's not hiding in the process. Right? There are like legit things you have to do both legally and or operationally to make sure that that has the maximum chance of success, with success defined as as enabling Iranian resistance and minimizing potential blowback to Iranian resistance. Like, that's a big deal. There's a reason Armin had warned about using Kurdish separatists, right? Even like, okay, me and Armin may differ on some of the specifics. Like, he would like to create a green zone in theater. I'm more train them outside. The point, though, is Armin's been actively involved in trying to not only provide asymmetric, advantages to the Iranian resistance for as long as I've been around here. I still have those emails. And Sketch is right when he says there are certain legal requirements that have to be met. So, like, there's a reason I and others pushed to have His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi and the transitionary government recognized as the official government in exile, because that opens up a lot of legal gates that have to be open for you to be able to legally send, receive, store, use lethal support, right? You can't just, I know people are like, I don't care about the law, I'm just going to drop guns in, kids are getting killed. I totally fucking get that. We looked at and we still do look at any number of ways to counter those ruthless motherfuckers and the shit they're doing. It's not a magic wand. Like, I had Jose had to teach me about the ceasefire that was put on True Social an hour and a half ago. I didn't know. I mean, I can only juggle so many chainsaws. So, I would just hope that people would understand that this administration is not your enemy. Clearly, they have a deep love for you. Clearly, there are many. It's not even just the IRGC we're fighting. We're fighting Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state, the Chinese Communist Party, elements out of Pakistan. They're another bunch of motherfuckers, right? You got the North Korean regime that's the largest proliferator. Elements in NATO that fucked us in the opening stages of Operation Epic Fury and denying us airspace, right? We had to restock all of our stuff because our carriers had to pick up the slack. And they went like max sortie, which is, I mean, they were really putting the fucking hurt on. You know, like 270 sorties a day is not a light thing, even for our largest carriers. After 5 days, they're cooked. They have their bingo gas, bingo like munitions. They had to get restocked. We just, we launched 870 plus Tomahawk cruise missiles in like a couple of hours. That's 27% of our global stocks. They had to go get reloaded, right? I mean, I know that people are like, I don't get it. America's like a hyperpower. Yes, we are the strongest country in the world. Tragically, a lot of the elements that I bitch about here, leftists, Democrats, Ron bots, had spent 20 years cannibalizing, more, 30 years, cannibalizing our national defense industrial base. Former President Bush tried to rebuild it. He had to sit there and fight the war on terror. That pushed things to a different, the resources to fighting a asymmetric extra state security concern, in other words, U.S. versus sub-state actors. And that requires different investments than fighting against a state actor. Actually, W was looking to kill the Mullah regime in 2005. It was fucking Democrats and to a lesser degree Ron bots, that piece of shit, that undermined our ability to do so. Obama gutted our shit, gutted our national defense industrial base, gutted it. He said it clearly. And look, I mean, I'm not an anti, it's not like I hated everything Obama did, even though I hate the person. I actually agreed with Obama's drone strikes. I just don't think he did it enough. This is real talk. It's not red tie, blue tie. I'm just going to reiterate, and I'll close with this. No one that I know in the administration or in this room is unaware and deeply appreciative of the horrific cognitive and emotional load that the anti-Mullah Iranian diaspora is under, even though we can't personally understand because we're not Iranian. Well, Armin can, he is Iranian, of Iranian descent. I'm just saying there are many different lines of effort being pursued, and not all of them are in public because, you have to keep certain things on the down low.
All right, and let's try Ram again, and let's move on.
That better?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, same settings as before. Yeah, so the one thing I just want to add, I am Iranian, and what we, as a whole, everybody who's critical of Trump needs to understand is he's done more for us than anybody, perhaps other than Bibi, that's ever done for Iranians as a whole in the past 47 years. So even if he stops today, he's still done more than anybody else has ever done, so we should be thankful, first off. Second off, his commitment is not to the Iranian population, it's to the United States residents and population of the United States. So whatever he can do to benefit the US, that's what he's going to choose. So if pushing for a deal is going to be better for them, he's going to do that, because going to open war, one, it's going to risk soldiers and US lives. Also, it'll cost millions of dollars. It's not free to drop bombs. And also, it's going to kill a lot more Iranians potentially, or at least harm them. He said it today, in a very empathetic way. He's like, I don't want to destroy their water supplies or hurt them, which is the truth. He just doesn't want to. So if it's not, I understand people's criticisms, and I have this conversation with my close family members on a daily basis, because one, they don't understand politics to an extent, and two, they just basically go knee-jerk reaction. Oh, he did this, it's wrong. Oh, he did that, it's wrong. It's like, okay, well, you don't understand the next 5 steps that this guy's going to have to take. And honestly, I think his deep plan is just to split the regime so far down the middle that some of them conduct a coup against the rest, and then they basically just eat each other alive. Because it looks like it's kind of heading that way slowly, and every time he says this stuff, it just pins them against each other. So if you have criticism, cool. Maybe just because you have an opinion, you should not always express it in such a harsh way, because it's probably going to hurt the movement. And also, I've seen people going after Americans, just like Armin said, is don't do that. They're our allies, they're helping. And so if you're going to turn the MAGA movement against us by being disrespectful and rude, then we're kind of screwed. So, just be thankful, have more empathy, because honestly, he's done more for us as a whole than anybody else has. So.
And okay, one last response from Armin, then we really move on.
Okay, but if we move on, it should be related topics before we go to the other topics. Okay. So first of all, 3 points. First of all, please try to, a lot of these points are not going to be convincing. Okay. On both sides. Many of the people on both sides of this regarding whether President Trump is doing the right thing or wrong thing, no matter how many times we make it, the other side is not going to get convinced. Given that many people are not going to get convinced by either side, what we have to try to push for is to keep our unity, even if we completely disagree with each other. That's point number one. We, at the end of the day, we are enemies of the Islamic Republic, and we all of us, both sides of this argument, want the Islamic Republic to fall. So keep your disagreements, have those disagreements, but let's keep trying to work with each other, even if we get frustrated with each other, even if you think our point is obvious and the other people on the other side are clearly getting it wrong. Let's try to maintain unity when it comes to our fight with the Islamic Republic. That's point number one. To the Iranians who are frustrated with President Trump, I know many Iranians are not frustrated with President Trump. Many Iranians are. I see both of them. Many Iranians are trying to convince the other Iranians that their position is correct about this. Most Iranians I'm seeing are united about the fact that Israel is an ally. On President Trump, there's division. But among the Iranians who are frustrated by this, please understand that even if you are right, turning against President Trump right now and turning against America or America hurts our cause, even if you're right. Okay? I'm not saying don't express your frustration. Come to our communities or our groups or our Discord servers or our discussion group right here and express your frustration as much as you want, but don't publicly come out against United States or Trump. We have many Americans, we have made many American allies, and we don't want to lose that. That is not going to help our cause against the Islamic Republic at all. At all. Two Americans who during this time found out that the Iranians are not like the Islamic Republic, and then started supporting Iranians. If you're now disappointed to see some Iranians turning against Trump, if you love Trump, and you're disappointed, like, at first you were very excited to see so many Iranians are all of a sudden coming out and waving the American flag and saying thank you, Trump. And now some of those very same people who you've been following are angry and disappointed. Please understand two things. First of all, not all Iranians are like that. Many Iranians still continue to support President Trump. And please understand, even if the Iranians who are frustrated right now with President Trump, please understand that they're going through hell. We just went through the darkest chapter of our history, and for some reason, because of how things were progressing really fast, many Iranians came to the conclusion that it was really dark, but it's after Khamenei's death, they thought it's over. They thought that Iran is going to be liberated very, very soon. And now they're realizing that they're deeper in that very same hell that they thought that they were almost out of, right? And it's really difficult to explain. I mean, for many people, they're going through an emotional roller coaster, but it's not. But the Iranian people's roller coaster is basically going through hell and back, in a hell that most people around the world cannot imagine, right? There is not a single person in Iran that I know of that doesn't know somebody in their life that was taken by the Islamic Republic in the most brutal way. Okay, and again, this is not something that the Iranian people are used to. These are people who live like very normal lives. Like, this is not something like, oh well, it's in the Middle East, so they're used to it. They were not fucking used to it. This has been extremely traumatic, and the Iranian people are very, very eager to just come out of this nightmare. And it's really, so if you see Iranians with frustration over why we're still in this mess and why the Americans have stopped attacking the Islamic Republic. Just please don't abandon us. Like, don't the bridge that we built between the Iranians and Americans is very precious to us, and I just want this. I don't want this disappointment over some of these reactions to lead to you guys basically giving up on the bond that we created over the past couple of months. So that's that. And um, I do have some super chats. Should I read them now, Danny, or should we go to the next person?
Yes, super chats.
Okay. So Mark gave me a super chat saying, Armin Navabi Aziz, you support Zelensky, a tyrant put in power by an American leftist in place regime. Why did Trump throw him out of the White House? And then the super chat continues saying, it was not because he was impolite, it was because the left out him and put him, I think you mean, put him in power, and Zelensky, as horrendous an irony as it is, rules a genocidal. Okay, I don't see the rest of this. There was only two parts. First of all, I support the Ukrainian people, and the Ukrainian people elected Zelensky. He was their choice. Maybe he's not their choice anymore. If there was elections, I don't know. But I support this. I need to look into that. I don't know. I support the Ukrainian people, and as long as the Ukrainian people's decision is Zelensky, I support Zelensky. And as long as the Ukrainian people's choice is not Zelensky, then I just submit to the will of submit to the will of the Ukrainian people. Okay. And I also consider Iran and Ukraine to be very important allies. So for as long as the Ukrainian people support Zelensky, we would do this. We respect their position. And I haven't seen any data that suggests that the election was fake. And I don't know what the poll numbers are right now for Zelensky right now in the Ukraine. So, but yeah, my support is not for Zelensky. My support is for the Ukrainian people. And if he speaks for them, then I support him. If he's their actual representative. Yeah. Okay. So sorry.
We're talking about the Zelensky and Ukrainians that are providing us with cheap anti-drone and anti-air defense expertise.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and I think I have a couple of people that also want to respond to that. So let me go.
Okay, so before, yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so Ali Zomenta. Do we have an Ali? I don't have audio from Ali.
Ali, I saw him here.
Yeah, he put it too. No, he's still here. But his microphone is not turning on. I'm not sure if you're having issues with permissions. See if you can figure out, and maybe I'll circle back to you. Jeffrey?
Yeah, I'm going to correct some of the misconceptions that were offered. Not of you, Armin, you're right on the money. So, no, President Zelensky's not a dictator, and he wasn't installed by U.S. intelligence. What you have is Ukrainians responding to Putin's criminalized counterintelligence states, increasing hybrid and gray zone conflict against former Soviet states in the intermarium, because that KGB shit gurgling asshole thinks they still belong to him. For instance, you have the poisoning of Ukrainian president and opposition candidate Viktor Yushchenko in 2004, where it fucked up his face. That would be Putin involved with that. You have the, you had in response to that, because, Putin was pushing all of his people there, much like how he did before he, weaponized illegal immigration in Donbass and Donetsk and parts of Crimea prior to illegally annexing Crimea in direct violation of the Budapest Memorandum in 1994. The poisoning and all the stupid shit Putin was doing is actually what motivated the color revolutions, not the least of which is the Orange Revolution in Ukraine in 2004. Then you had the Maidan and Euromaidan revolution, the revolution of dignity in 2013 and 14. Then you had Putin's legal annexation of Crimea. I mean, the list goes on and on, right? The violation of the Minsk I and Minsk II Accords. You know, so now, yeah, I mean, Zelensky's not a dictator. I'm not saying there isn't elements around him that are less than desirable. There's corruption there, to be sure. The idea that somehow Zelensky is some shitbag is so off the wall fucking crazy. You have a guy who legitimately was offered a way out when there were, you know, FSB hunter-killer squads hunting him down in Kyiv and said he would rather die with his fucking people. Yeah, not the act of a dictator. Most of those people, most dictators are cowards. You know, like the IRGC and Besiege, who hide behind children with their fucking urban shield strategy, or walking kids with Down syndrome into friggin' landmines. So yeah, not a dictator at all, not one fucking iota. And indeed, I would contend Ukraine and Zelensky is like legitimately 21st century's version of Western civilization's Sparta. And you know what? It's the irony is not lost on me, because in this case, in the war that's going on for our world today, you have both contemporary Ukrainian Spartans. I mean, Greece is also on our side. They've also been really supportive. So you have both the direct descendants of Sparta and the direct representation of a Ukrainian Sparta working with Persians. So yeah, totally not a fuck. I'm sorry, I'm getting pissed off. Look.
Please do.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Woo.
No, please let it go. No, don't stop.
So I'm not getting angry at the person. So there's a lot of disinformation, like the stupid shit about, well, first it was Zelensky was a Nazi. Okay, he's Jewish and his family died in Auschwitz. The fuck? Then it was, well, actually, there was like US bioweapons labs in Ukraine. Nope, those were actually Soviet bioweapons labs that we demilitarized, and that motherfucker, Vladimir Putin, literally violated the Joint Threat Reductions Program and fucked us, right, in 2003. Like all this bullshit. Well, there's actually like the Azov battalion are all Nazis. Nope. That was like maybe 5 to 10% of the Azov battalion, which admittedly, those guys are fucked up. The vast majority of the Azov battalion are just very supportive of not having their people raped and fucking murdered by those KGB pieces of shit. All that disinformation it's the same, and it's the same fuckers. These are the same people pushing crap about brave Iranian resistance. It's the same origin. The very person who pushed that disinformation is the one that gave Kalinkas to those mullah regime bastards so they could hunt down brave Iranians and kill them in their fucking house. Zelensky is not a dictator. If there are certain things that a country adopts when it's under absolute threat of being exterminated, you know, that's not dictatorship. That's just being rational and reasonable, right? Anyway, I'm not angry at the person who voiced that. I'm just angry at that specific line of disinformation because it shits all over brave members of Ukrainian defense forces that have literally been fighting and sacrificing their lives to save the world from the evil that is Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state. And much like Iranian resistance having to fucking fight every horror under the sun, whether it's Putin, the Chi-Coms, fucking North Koreans, and everybody else, that's exactly what Ukrainians have been dealing with. They are literally one of your strongest allies. It was President Zelensky that recognized His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi as the official representation of the Iranian people. It's Ukrainian defense forces that are legitimately supporting Iranian resistance right now, even when they're under active threat of being exterminated by those whack job KGB hardliner fucks out of St. Petersburg. So no, not a dictator.
Thank you for that, Jeffrey.
That was beautiful. That was fantastic. Standing over, like, guys, oh my God. That part needs to be clipped. That part needs to be shared. Holy fuck. That was amazing. Thank you, Jeffrey. That was amazing. Loved it.
Okay. Sketch gets to try to follow that.
Yes, I was just going to say there's also elements of the woke right that is, of those SPCL funded, kind of like infiltrators into the right. Some of them like to point out, well, they're not having an election. Well, Iran isn't having an election either. And guess why? Right? They like to point out a lot of strawman arguments. Like they talk about, well, the funding didn't go where it was supposed to go. They stole the money. And you could just point out at the results, like their weapons industry has gone into an international level. They're having deals with Japan. They're having deals all over the Indo-Pacific. The money did go into the war, and that has borne fruit through this massive drone weapons industry. Like to try to say that all this money is stolen. Look, hey, I'm not saying maybe a suitcase got lost or something, right? But if we're going to be realistic about outcomes, if we're going to be realistic about the things that are happening, of course they're not having an election right now. And what do you mean the money didn't go anywhere? They just stole it. Look at their weapons industry. That's where the money is. You could just see it right there, right? So how are you going to say that there is an incredible evil thing in what Ukraine is doing when Ukraine is just trying to help the people being oppressed by Iran, help the people that China is trying to overtake and oppress, trying to help people that are being that have been under siege by these dictatorial regimes, like the CCP, like Putin's KGB cartel in Russia. Like these are obvious things that are ignored by the politicization and weaponization of narratives by infiltrators into the conservative side, and just flat out, lies and propaganda from the more leftist side.
My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.